I've been loving you.
Is going to be a brilliant lap. There it is, well deserved from Barrichello, but Schumacher is trying to respond as we speak.
Michael is going to do him again across the start-finish line, and it's pole position for Michael Schumacher. A stunning lap, 0.3 of a second faster than Rubens Barrichello.
Michael, every time you started on pole for the Spanish Grand Prix, you've gone on to win the World Championship. Any chance the same this year?
Well, there's so many statistics like this. If you win the Brazilian Grand Prix, you win the championship, and if you do this and that and here, at the end of the day, it counts what you do in the end and not what the statistic may say. And you know, I'm for this sort of statistic anyway. I'm not a big friend, so just let's go ahead and do a fine race.
He chats to royalty. He's the Formula One record holder, and he is still hungry. Michael Schumacher's goal this afternoon, to reign in Spain again. Good afternoon to you from the Catalunya circuit close to Barcelona. Fabulous location for our studio as well. We are right above the start-finish straight. Conditions for the Spanish Grand Prix, 20 degrees, a bit of breeze around, but it's dry. Before the start of the race, we're going to be joined by Marc Genet, Williams' Spanish test driver, and by the Minardi boss, Paul Stoddart. Goodness me, his team have had a harrowing time this weekend. Tony Jardine already in situ. Hi, Tony. Let's focus first of all on the challengers to those Ferraris, the Williams.
Well, Williams, it's not their favourite track. They said they're going to struggle here. And they worked very, very hard on the race setup during the weekend. Friday, they were in very lowly positions. I think it was 17th and 19th. They worked so hard on Friday night, they transformed the car. And literally, this was a surprise that the car was so competitive. And eventually ended up with third place, and that was provisional pole at the time.
That's the qualifying session, of course, and time from nowhere, really, from Ralf Schumacher there. But Rubens Barrichello has put in some really good qualifying performances, and he's keeping Schumacher very honest.
Well, as Ross Brawn said, you know, this car really suits his precise driving style, his smooth driving style. It had Michael Schumacher studying Rubens's corner times, his data, and he said, you know, I thought I was going flat out till I saw Rubens's times. Makes you realise you've got to go that bit faster. Still making adjustments here in the last few moments as he went out, and just took 0.3 off and took pole position. A tremendous battle between the Ferrari drivers.
Did it in overtime again, didn't he?
Yeah.
And a lap record as well here at Barcelona. But we're all getting very excited about Jenson Button. I think he was 21st here on the grid last year. He's right up there on the third row this time.
Hallmark of a future champion here, that he only did 2 qualifying runs, and yet he, again, was very smooth. He was very, very polished. A lot of people around his garage saying, when's he going out? What's the problem? What's the matter with him? Not at all. Taking a leaf out of Schumacher's book there and going lastminute.com.
Let's just take a look at the Minardi problems, shall we? And a horrible incident for Alex Young.
Well, you could see they went right over the sort of the hard-toothed curb there, and right on the pressure point of that front wing. You saw the front of the Minardi came up as the front wing came away. This had happened in the morning when the car went along the straight to his teammate. But it was a different wing. But you can see how the thing reared up as well. And of course, Paul Stoddart then had to fly parts back and get them strengthened. And a different problem again today.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Paul Stoddart in just a moment. But here is Alex Young talking then to Ted Kravitz about the sort of problem, really, that every driver dreads.
Alex, that looked pretty hairy. What was it like from where you were sitting?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, you can normally use a lot of curb on the exit there. And hit the curb, and just the front picked up, and all I saw was sky for a while. So I think we hit the curb a bit harder than expected, so you know, the team's looking into it, and obviously we will make sure it's all nice and safe, and there are lots of things we can do to correct it.
Well, welcome, Paul. Since he spoke there, just tell us, first of all, what you did to correct it and what you did to try and allow your cars to run here today.
Basically, Jim, we have had a bad weekend, it's fair to say, but the failure that Mark had first in the session yesterday was a failure, and we took that very seriously. With two types of wings we were running, we withdrew the first type, and Alex was actually running a new type of wing. But as he said in his interview, he actually hit the curb very hard. Now, we reviewed the tapes.
What we're seeing here is this morning at Mark Webber and the wing coming off at around about 190 miles an hour, and you there looking very concerned indeed. And at that stage, had you virtually decided that you wouldn't race, you wouldn't put your cars in this afternoon?
Really, yes, Jim. I mean, I had to make a decision. The decision was a tough one, a very tough one. We've now, with the benefit of time, found out what actually happened to the rear wing, and I can just show you here.
Yeah, Tony, you've got a wing there.
On this. The wing actually broke along this line here, which is a stress line, and although it's the same wing that we've ran all year and in testing, we've never had a problem, even if bumpy circuits like Brazil. One we put on Mark's car this morning was a brand new wing, and we've now got both pieces back, which we didn't have at the time I was withdrawing the cars, and we can see where it actually broke, why it broke, and the problem will be solved. But my duty is really to not just my drivers, all the other drivers out there as well. So it would have been irresponsible to start the race. Unlike yesterday, we had 24 hours to sort it out. We could stress test the cure and fix it. Today, we didn't.
Yeah, let's just have a word with Mark Webber, shall we? He was really shell-shocked when he spoke to Louise Goodman moments after that crash.
Mark, a very scary moment for you.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. We've obviously had another problem with the rear wing. Well, our first problem with the rear wing. And some issues yesterday, so obviously until we have a good look at what's going down here, we don't know what to, we don't want to draw any conclusions. We've just got to check out what it is. Obviously something's not quite working right, and got to stand by the boys and make sure they get it right.
As a boss, your main concern must be for your driver's safety, mustn't it?
It has to be, Jim. I mean, we now are sure, as I said, that we've got 6 other wings here, 7 other wings here that don't have that same problem. It was a new one this morning, but it still would have been wrong to race today.
Alex Young didn't make it last time out into the starting grid. How big a blow is it to your whole season, this?
Well, we've had tremendous start to the season in Melbourne, and I think everybody remembers that. Probably the most popular 2 points in the history of Formula One, I think. You have your good days, you have your bad days. There's enough bad days in racing, so we're happy for the Melbourne-type scenarios, and we've got to work towards making that happen again. But yeah, I mean, Mark had a good race in Imola, so it sort of balanced a little bit Alex's problems, and today, just one of those days.
Just one final point. We had Eddie Jordan sitting where you are yesterday in our qualifying show complaining about the costs of Formula One racing. How costly is this for you?
Well, I can tell you that little episode of flying planes all around the sort of Europe last night cost me well over 100 grand, so it is expensive. But Formula One, I think, has to take a look at its future. It has to look very seriously at the way the wealth of Formula One is distributed, because it would be a very boring situation for us to end up with half a dozen teams competing as opposed to what we've got today. I think we need everybody, and we've got to work towards a long-term solution for Formula One.
Paul, thanks for joining us, and better luck in a couple of weeks' time in Austria. Thanks, guys. OK, well, sadly then, Tony, no Minardis, but just take us through the rest of the grid, could you?
Well, Michael Schumacher looking for a record 4th Spanish Grand Prix win and another 1-2 for Ferrari on Rubens Barrichello on the dirty side of the grid. Ralf Schumacher, 2nd row. Every race so far this year, Montoya happy to be up there in 4th because he had to take the spare car. Raikkonen 5th. Button, his best starting position for 23 races, and he's ahead of David Coulthard. Coulthard not happy with that. Heidfeld in 8th, he's happy with the Sauber. Truly took to the spare, did well to get up there to 9th. 10th place, Frentzen, best position for Arrows since the year 2000 in Germany. Massa, his 21st birthday last week, Fisichella alongside him. Panis ahead of Villeneuve. Bernaldi, his best grid for Arrows. Then Villeneuve not happy back there, hoped to do a little bit better. Pedro de la Rosa, home Grand Prix for him, don't forget. Solo, no downforce, and you need that here. Sato, very nervous car, nervous engineer who's gone home. His wife's having a baby. McNish, he had survived a big spin. Irvine, relegated to the back of the grid for fuel irregularities.
I did some mistakes, and I knew when I sort of got together my lap I can be close, but I wasn't so optimistic I can be that much faster, and so I'm nicely surprised.
I give it everything. I didn't got it completely right, but I'm happy. At the end, I'm pushing him very hard. We know him for facts and for numbers that he's a top guy, so I'm quite happy with the situation.
You went P3 behind the Ferraris and stayed P3. Was that the best you could do, you think?
It was the best. I mean, looking at the gap, it was definitely the best, and it was work for us, I must admit, to be there, because McLaren are closer to us than they ever have been before this year, so we have to keep on working.
This is a difficult race for the cars. Normally there's a lot of cars breaking down, so it seems actually this year a lot. General cars are a lot more reliable, so it's gonna be a tough race.
It's good to be inside the top 6. It's my first time with this team, so it's great, and just hopefully it's going to continue this way.
I think the Ferrari are out there on their own. Williams obviously have taken a step forward from the morning session, and it looks like we're going to be battling with Renault and Williams.
Is that something you relish?
Oh, I like to battle, but I like to battle as long as I can be at the front. But that's what we have at the moment, and we just got to go racing.
Here's the battle for the Drivers' Championship after 4 races. Schumacher, the elder, 14 points clear of brother Ralph, then Montoya. He had his first podium here last year. Jenson Button above Coulthard and starting in front of him as well. The battle to be the top British driver is intensifying.
8 years ago here in Barcelona, a fresh-faced David Coulthard made his Grand Prix debut. 11 race wins followed for Williams and McLaren, wins that seem like rather a distant memory right now. In qualifying yesterday, Coulthard was outshone by a resurgent Jenson Button, who knocked him out of the top 6 in the dying seconds of the session. It's a stark contrast to the scene 12 months ago when Jenson was battling to keep his Benetton off the back row of the grid. Both men have had their fair share of ups and downs.
I've had 2 years in Formula 1, one very good and one pretty bad actually. But I've gained a lot of experience from the good times and the bad times. You can't change anything. And especially last year, I wouldn't change it for the world. I think I learned so much last year. And it was very difficult, but I think that was good for me.
I've enjoyed every one of those 8 years, even when it didn't look quite so rosy as it did over the last few years, and despite it not looking quite as good this year as we would have liked. I love to race, I love that competition, and in many ways you get more opportunity to do that if you're in the middle of the grid than when you're at the front.
To be able to race against a McLaren, it was just fantastic. We were a long way off of Ferrari and even Williams, but to catch him past a McLaren in the race was awesome. It was just a fantastic feeling. Plus, I think personally I pushed as hard as I ever have.
I think that Renault's case, they've had a couple of 5th places or 4th place or something like that. It is a big step to go from there to being on the podium.
We're not quick enough compared to the Williams at the moment or the Ferraris, so it's going to be very, very difficult to get there. I think we've got to wait a few more races for new parts in the car to come, and then we'll be hopefully up there. But I can't wait. I'm bored of finishing 4th and 5th now.
Inevitably, it's all about being competitive, and if I cease to be competitive, then the team would have no problem at all in trying to find a more competitive driver. And likewise, if they're not competitive, then it's about trying to maximise your opportunities. And I'm a long way down the road. I've been with McLaren a long time, so it's with each passing year, it's less likely that you're going to want to go somewhere else. But at the moment, I'm enjoying the challenge of trying to get us back into the winning circle.
I want to win the World Championships, obviously, personally, and that is the most important thing for me. But obviously, I'm racing for Renault, and they're a great team to be racing with. When we finally start winning races, it's going to be the best feeling in the world, I think, for me.
It's never been my motivation as such to be top bred. I've always wanted to be top of the pile, and if that happened to be a grid full of Brits or a grid full of whoever, then I just want to be quickest. But I noticed from the Imola Grand Prix when I watched the race afterwards, but there was this big thing at the end with obviously the guys in the studio about top Brit. I'm like, it's an interest. It's not my goal, but clearly part of trying to finish as high in the championship as possible is I have to try and finish in front of Jenson and the other British drivers. But winning is what I really want to do.
With the guys in the studio, is he feeling the heat from a young challenger?
Well, of course he is. He's not happy about that, but he does enjoy the competition. And of course we're going to focus on the Brits. We're naturally going to do that. David's had a lot of support this year, and of course Jensen will got a lot of support. But it's going to be a very, very tough year for David Coulthard. And let's hope he can start to get changes affected on that McLaren Mercedes.
Absolutely. Well, now we're going to show you around the Catalonia circuit with Jensen Button. He's a driver transformed this year, had a great fitness program in Kenya, got himself fitter than ever. He's blown away his Renault teammate Jarno Trulli. A lap with Jensen now and Martin Brundle.
Let's have a look at this challenging high-speed circuit here in Barcelona, on board with Jensen Button in the Renault. The long pit straight, scene of terror for the Minardi drivers with 3 wing failures. We're edging to the left-hand side, 190 miles an hour into turn 1. Just 75 through the heart of that chicane. Let the car run wide in turn 2 and listen to his smooth driving as he negotiates the never-ending turn 3, leaving the car on the left-hand side for 4, sweeping at 170 miles an hour. Turn in early, it's bumpy. The car tends to wander to the outside, but bring it immediately right for the downhill braking zone of 5, just 55 miles an hour. The car really is working well. A short shoot to turn 6. Again, you can let the car run wide, take a little bit of curb and head up the hill towards Campso. Let's listen to him through this corner. Again, super smooth, 125 on the exit, and gently again to the right-hand side for La Caxa, a huge braking zone, and try to get the nose into the left, just 50 miles an hour. This is really hard work for a Formula 1 car as you try to get 850 horsepower into the tarmac. Very, very bumpy through turns 11. Bank Sabadell, 12 ahead, a slight confidence lift, and a charge down the hill to the wonderful turn 13. Button, confident and serene behind the wheel. The Renault, beautifully balanced, P6 on the grid.
He's finished 17th and 15th in his only 2 races here. Jensen Button eyeing the podium today. Half an hour to go to the start of the race. Some of the cars out having a little early blow here at the Catalonia circuit. Well, Leighton Hewitt and some of the other top tennis players in the world have been in the city taking part in the Barcelona Open. With a bit of help from Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, the F1 drivers have been getting into the swing of things as well, all in aid of charity. And we're all set for that. Minutes or so to go to the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher on track. He has had some problems in morning warm-up. We're going to tell you about that in a few minutes' time. We're also about to hear from our studio guest, the Spanish driver Marc Genet. Before that, we're going to go off track and on court with Beverly Turner.
The day of reckoning has arrived. The prize awaits, and let's face it, over the next few hours things could get a little ugly. But only one driver can walk away with the coveted title of F1 tennis champion. There's always plenty of rivalry on a Grand Prix starting grid, and clearly these guys don't leave their competitive streak behind when they pick up a racket.
It was a serious war out there, you know. We had to beat the other guys, but we failed, so we lost the first round of the tournament.
And you've picked up an injury.
Yeah, I was jumping for a ball. I actually made the ball, but I picked up a little injury.
But the pain was worth it. The tournament was played at the academy jointly run by Spain's most famous tennis family, the Sanchez Vicarios. They're very competitive.
I know they're very professional and they almost don't stop and they want to win badly, so.
Their coordinations are pretty good, you know, for not playing so much, and I was very surprised because even you hit hard to them, they were hitting pretty well. I think they like to volley more than they hit from the, you know, from the back of the court, but they've done a good job, and it's not easy. I think they do it better playing tennis than we maybe do on the cars.
You may hardly recognise the drivers without their racing suits. Some had left their dress sense behind altogether. Each driver teamed up with a tennis pro, and they spent the morning sorting out those with ability from those who were a liability.
It's very nice because here is a relaxed atmosphere. We are doing a sport. Everybody is playing, you know, even if you are a little bit of competition, but it's in a funny way. It's good to get the mind out a little bit before the race.
Who do you think are fitter then, tennis players or Formula 1 drivers?
Well, it's so different, you know. I mean, Formula 1 is very different physically, and tennis is the same things. Well, I prefer to drive Formula 1, to be honest, but I respect the tennis player.
I think Olivier is going to win because they were quite a lot stronger, and to see how hard he played. Actually, he's sweating, and to see how fit I am, I didn't sweat at all. So if I would have pushed, we would have won. I like to hit a few balls when I can, and also, you know, cycling, running, whatever. I mean, all the drivers obviously are trying to keep themselves in fairly good shape, so this is a fun way to enjoy it.
But the real star of the day was the boy for whom the event was organised. 11-year-old Sean has a serious spinal injury and was there to see the players in action.
They're not as good as professional, but they're all right.
Some were better than others. The grand final saw Mark Webber and Sandon Stolly play Olivier Panis and Andres Gomez. Congratulations, chaps. Once again, the Aussies are taking home the silverware.
We've had a great day at the office. It's been good. Got a few tips off the big fella as well, so no, we had a good day, and all in a good cause, obviously, so that's what we're here for, so it's good that everyone give their time up to come here and do it.
Sandon, how was he? What was his technique like?
Yeah, he was good. You know, got out early this morning, he was keen, gave him a crash course and, you know, got through. It was a good day, yeah.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? But everybody agreed they'd be back for more next year.
It's very impressive because we were meeting here at 8:30 in the morning and now they have meetings with engineers and all that, so I have to say good credit for them. And then when they were playing, there was some good level, so competition was very tough.
I think if you tell any Formula One driver that there's a prize involved, they're going to put the effort in.
Yeah, we don't want to lose in anything, you know.
You're not kidding. Battle scars and a few dented egos, but I don't think we'll be losing any drivers to tennis just yet.
Tough competition then, Mark, joining us live in the studio. A liability, your tennis, is that fair?
A liability, definitely.
We didn't see you hitting too many balls. We saw you watching one or two, didn't we?
Not many.
Now tell us about the Spaniards and their approach to this Grand Prix, because the country seems to be working very hard, or the organisers here, to get Spaniards into the circuit on Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, they work very hard, but still, this is probably one of the Grand Prix where most foreigners tend to come, because we have the mentality of motorbikes still, and we have 3 Formula One drivers, Pedro, Fernando and myself, but we are not in a really leading top team, and until we have a challenge, we're challenging for the lead, it's difficult for the whole Spain to follow us.
De La Rosa and Alonso, the other two, so that's what you feel the country needs, a real successful Grand Prix driver.
Yeah, we're very Mediterranean mentality, and second place is not good enough. All countries want their people to win, but in Spain maybe it's a bit too much, and they follow it because the viewers are quite good, but it's still not blossomed, or it's still not too big.
Sure. What's the feeling in your team today about your challenge to Ferrari at the Spanish Grand Prix?
Yeah, realistically, it's going to be quite tough, I think, on reliability this Grand Prix. And when we saw Schumacher this morning on the warm-up with problems, we thought, well, if he would have finished the warm-up and these problems come on the second lap, you know, for sure they fix them. But we know that unless something happens to the Ferraris, we've got no chance. We have a very good start system. We were trying it in Silverstone, and not to 100, we are, I think, one of the best teams with Ferrari. So I could see maybe Ralph, what he did in San Marino, overtaking one of the Ferraris, but on pace we are far away from them.
Yeah, I think it is probably fair to say that Williams came here accepting that Ferrari would give them the treatment because they were in a class of their own at Imola, but at least they put the cars on the second row.
I think it has been difficult, but we've worked pretty hard at the setup and getting it right, and although we're a bit disappointed that we're 9/10 off the pace of Ferrari, but we're still the next best runners with our cars 3rd and 4th tying up the second row. That's for qualifying. The race is a completely different story, so we're just working hard on strategy and getting a good balance for the race.
Are you concerned about the pace of the new Ferrari?
But yeah, but can we do anything? At the moment, no. You know, this is what we got and we're trying to improve it.
I think the main problem we have compared to Ferrari, that's our aerodynamic, which is not as good and as efficient as the Ferrari might be, and that's what we all know and what we are working on.
Mark, it's worth pointing out that you, I think, have driven tests here quicker than both Juan Pablo Montoya and Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, the team doesn't really ask me to do that, but obviously as a test driver you always want to prove that if you ever were needed as a race driver, as I am a reserve driver, you could do as good job as them. And yes, in similar conditions I was a bit quicker, but I know this track very well. I've done 1,000 laps this year in this circuit, so that's why I know this track very well.
Well, we're going to have a little look at testing day. I mean, Mark here, I know you drove the equivalent of 8 Grand Prix, I think, during a 5-day test here in Barcelona last month. Ted Kravitz, though, has been watching the Jordan team in action at their home track.
When your season's going the way Jordan's is at the moment, you need as much development time as you can possibly get. So in the week between Imola and Barcelona, a team in yellow have come to Silverstone with a job sheet as long as your arm.
Mechanical suspension componentry, some aerodynamic bits and pieces, some different shock absorbers, different differential settings, that type of thing. And really a race weekend is far too tight a schedule to really cram everything into. So we go testing basically to try and evaluate, find the 2 or 3 best points out of 20 things tested. So whenever we come to Barcelona or whatever, we can make sure we get them on the car and evaluate it correctly.
You don't invent things over a race weekend. You've got to go there and tune the car in and get the most out of the pieces you have. So I describe test engineering much more as development engineering, and race engineering really is consolidating what you already have.
The top teams have followed McLaren's idea of appointing test drivers with recent F1 race experience. Alex Wirtz from Benetton and ex-Prost pilot Luciano Berti, who's joined Ferrari.
The workload in Formula 1 is so high now. The speed of development is incredibly quick, and you need a cert driver who can drive the cars on the same limits than the race drivers, so it's on the same level. Otherwise you have a disadvantage in these days.
Testing is very difficult for the driver, because first of all, when you finish the race you are tired, and during testing you do a lot of laps, many as you can, but it's very important for the development of the car.
Back at the Jordan test, a problem's come up. It's a cracked exhaust. The team replace it and make an alteration to their other exhausts to make sure it doesn't happen in a race. They've just prevented what could well have been another retirement, but at what cost?
It's very expensive. I mean, our car to run, we do like 300 miles roughly in a day at a test. And on car components alone, that costs us up towards £30,000 just on the mileage on the bits. So testing's a very, very expensive item.
And Mark, they make you earn your money as the test driver, don't they?
Yeah, in a team like Williams, I think we are the team who's done most miles before the first Grand Prix, and that's why I would like to say, I think, that we are the most reliable team in Formula 1 at the moment. That doesn't mean today we're going to have a problem, but we are very reliable, and that's down to the test team, so it's very good.
It's been great for you to pop into us. Before you go, give us your prediction, could you, of your home race, the Spanish Grand Prix?
Yeah, well, for sure one Williams in the podium, and I think, I don't want to say I wish, but I think that maybe one Ferrari would not finish the race. Therefore, why not a second and third place for Williams?
Absolutely. Which Ferrari would you like not to finish the race, by the way?
No, I won't say. I won't go on that. I don't know.
Anyone will do. Hey, listen, thanks for coming to join us. We really appreciate it. Now, Tony Mark was talking about the problems for Michael Schumacher in morning warm-up today. We can have a look at them, and I guess Williams and 1 or 2 others will get some hope from this.
Well, there is some hope, but the problem is he always does it in warm-up, or last time he did it was on the parade lap at the Nürburgring, and he managed to get a scooter back. But it is slightly concerning for Ferrari. Jean Todt has already said, I am concerned about reliability. That was his race car. He'd been out for 2 runs in the spare Ferrari with no problems, and it was a problem with the hydraulics. So there he was, but Schumacher himself didn't seem overly bothered. Ross Brawn here, the technical director looking on the screens, was. Michael was happy to chat to everybody, and he was waving to the crowd. He has been in every race here, in all 11 Spanish Grand Prix, he's been in the points. Look, he's even waving on the back of a tow rope, and you don't often see a Ferrari, not this new Ferrari, certainly that's the first time it's been on the end of a tow rope.
Okay, some encouragement perhaps for David Coulthard from that. Let's go to Louise Goodman now, though, shall we? She is at the Ferrari garage with the very latest news on those problems.
Thanks, Jim. Well, let's get a word with Luca Colangiani, the team press officer, about that incident. Luca, first suggestions were it was a hydraulic failure. Can you tell us more?
Yes, Michael had a loss of hydraulic pressure during the last laps of the warm-up. He had to park the car. Unfortunately, luckily we didn't lose too much time, as it was already at the end of the warm-up. When the car was back in the garage, we found out what was the problem, and I think we're quite good and ready for the race.
How confident can you be that this isn't going to happen in the race, just very briefly?
You know, these are things that happen normally, so they didn't create any extra concern to us.
Thanks for that, Luca. Well, that's the latest news from here in the pits. Let's go down and find out what's happening on the grid. Over to you, Marty.
Thank you, Louise. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the grid. Well, what do you want to know? There's great anticipation here in Barcelona. Unfortunately, that anticipation is that Ferrari are going to run and hide this afternoon, but Michael Schumacher has had to take to the T-car after hydraulic problems. You saw him breaking down earlier in the show from this morning's warm-up, and he has elected to go with the spare car so it doesn't happen again. So, gentleman here, Steve McManaman. Steve, good, and you, quick word for us?
Of course, yes.
You're a brave man coming to Barcelona, having scored against them this week.
No, they don't mind that. It's Formula One territory now, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, good stuff. Chances you might play Manchester United in the final, and what about that?
Well, being a good Liverpool boy, I hope not. No, I mean, they've got a very difficult game away to Leverkusen, but, you know, Manchester United seem to be very prolific away from home. So, I mean, I think, in reality, you know, apart from my bias, it's the final that everybody seems to want, you know, Real Madrid, Manchester United. So, you know, hopefully, it's still very difficult for both teams, but let's hope.
All right, two things. Are you going to be in the England squad, and who's going to win the Grand Prix?
I don't know if I'm going to be England squad. Who's going to win the Grand Prix today? I think that man over there, Michael Schumacher.
All right, good luck. Hope you enjoy the day. Well done. Let's see if we can find a driver and have a word with Rubens over here. Okay, Rubens, quick word with us. I want to see you win this Grand Prix. You've got the speed today.
Oh, the only thing I said yesterday, I don't want to be going to the press room and saying, oh, if I had started from the first place, I would have had a different race. You won't see me saying that. So I cleaned my position all morning. So right now I actually help a little bit more because I think it's, if I have a good start, it's all.
You want us to scrub the way and sweep the way for you, but you look so happy. You're driving so well. You've got to stop putting those qualifying laps in until the last moment, so Michael can't go and beat them.
No, but it was a situation yesterday. He was fantastic to put a lap in. I'm happy. This car suits me, and I'm giving him a lot to think.
Okay, we're going to go over that way and have a look. So thank you very much. Let's see what's going on over here, and it's the King of Spain. And Bernie, if I can get through the uglies with their guns in their pockets, I might. Do you think I'm brave enough to see if I can have a word with him?
No problem.
We haven't seen you much lately, Bernie.
Me? No, I've been working for Sky Television. You know, the people where you can see all the different things that you can't see on ITV. You know that?
Oh, I know. Is that the show where you can invite a few mates and double the audience all by yourself?
No, don't be naughty.
How am I going to get in here? I want to have a word with His Majesty, as he's expecting to talk to me. Really, Your Majesty. I know you're not as sorry as I am. Don't worry. So how are you? Have you got a quick word for us on British television?
Yes, but this time I have no the luck that you take me around your truck.
I know. I wish we could take you around again today. It looks wonderful. The new facilities in Barcelona.
What you mean?
The new grandstands. Everything looks wonderful.
The new, fantastic. Very well done. In 6 months they built it.
Yeah, amazing. It's a quality thing. And Mr. De La Rosa, you think he has a good chance today?
Well, I hope he does better.
Thank you for talking to us. See you later. I am going to go back to the studio. Hello, goodbye.
Well done, Martin. Score draw there with Bernie Eccleston, I think. And, of course, he drove King Juan Carlos round in the two-seater here a couple of years ago. Rubens Barrichello happy and very optimistic. I wonder if this could be the day for Jenson Button's first podium. Coulthard just behind him, grimly determined to underline his status as Britain's #1. How about Ralf Schumacher and Juan Montoya? Will they get amongst those Ferraris? Now, whatever you do, don't leave early, because last year Mika Häkkinen lost the race on the very last lap. We are primed for the Spanish Grand Prix on ITV1.